Many thanks for your time. Welcome back to the marketplace. Now, aggrieved customers of 53 collapsed fund management companies have petitioned the government to treat all victims of the banking sector cleanup equally by paying locked-up funds. They are questioning government's silence over their fate after committing to pay those of savings and loans companies, including DKM Financial Services, which collapsed in 2015. Customers of gold dealership firm Men's Gold have also expressed dissatisfaction at the government's failure to address the issue. The latest to raise similar concerns at the press conference in Kumasi is the coalition of aggrieved customers of collapsed fund management. Prince Apia was there and has this report.
So for some time now, the Kumasi Cultural Center has become a haven for these aggrieved customers of the defunct Gold Coast Fund Management. Their reason is that they feel neglected and forgotten by the state, especially after President Akufo-Addo announced some 5 billion Ghana cedis to be paid to the customers of savings and loans and finance houses and even DKM.
The purpose is to petition His Excellency, the President of the Republic, to commit to a full payment arrangement for the over 100,000 customers of the 53 collapsed fund management companies whose licenses were revoked, just as he has done for those in the microfinance and savings and loans sector, including DKM. We find it difficult as fund management customers to comprehend why customers should be sidelined by the president when he commits to 100% payment to depositors fund affected under the financial sector cleanup, despite the fact that fund management companies are equally regulated. This attempt to sideline the fund management sector, and therefore it is incomprehensible why our taxed money should be applied in such a discriminatory manner.
They are now threatening to hit the street again to drum home their demands, especially if government do not pay heed to their call.
We are over 100,000 customers, of which over 60% of us are pensioners who have labored all their life to serve this great nation of ours. It is therefore surprising how the president would decide to sideline such a vulnerable group in the society during his sona. We are therefore making a passionate appeal to the president through this medium as a matter of urgency, reconsider his position with regard to those of us in the fund management sector. Then he should put in measures to fix this situation before March 24th, 2020, which day we would be holding a mammoth demonstration on the streets of Kumasi against this government.
My name is Prince Apia reporting from Kumasi.
Back in Accra, the Private Enterprise Federation (PEF) is urging government to build capacity of local businesses to stand the competition that comes with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area soon. According to the CEO of the Private Enterprise Federation, Nana Bonsu, Ghanaian businesses stand to lose more if other countries come with a huge potential. He spoke with Joy Business at the Private Enterprise Federation Awards held in Accra to acknowledge efforts of some state and private agencies. Fred Duho has more in this report.
According to Chief Executive Officer of the Private Enterprise Federation, Nana Bonsu, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area offers an enormous platform which must not be taken for granted. According to him, Ghana may not be able to stand the competition to emerge out of a free trade area if businesses do not build enough capacity.
Now the Continental Free Trade allows anybody to migrate and do anything. So if we look at Ghana and the gaps of what we don't have, Nigerians are going to bring, South Africans are going to bring, Kenyans are going to bring, Cameroonians are going to bring, then where lives the Ghanaian business? So we have to build their capacity to understand the competition that is coming, push them to the level where they become strong enough to withstand any competition. Unless we do that, gradually we're going to lose a lot. Everybody's glorifying trade, but you can only trade what you produce at the level of competency, at the level of quality control. And if you don't, the competition is going to swallow you. And that's what we haven't done. We're talking about the glorified benefits, but we haven't talked about the threats and lamentations that will come if we don't do our homework. But we need to hold the hands of businesses to be able to become profitable. The key word profitable sometimes is lost on people that, oh, businessmen want to be rich and go home and spend the money. But with that profitability of the business, let me give you the scenario. No employment. The employees' taxes are not paid to government. The business profit taxes are not paid to government. Government revenues are lost. As now, 92% of our businesses are micro, small, and medium enterprises. 92%. Do you know their tax contribution? 4%.
A representative of the Minister for Planning, George Yao Janbafo, stated that the Private Enterprise Federation Awards and similar awards go a long way to boost and motivate people in all sectors to offer their best.
PEF, particularly for the thought and institutionalization of the Public Sector Institutions Excellence Awards. This is a novel. We applaud this effort because we believe that we have fought corruption over time, and most of our efforts have been around punitive sanctioning. Our advocacy has been around getting legislations and laws in place to ensure that we are sanctioning the corrupt. We all agree that that has not gone too well. And we also appreciate that it is important that even as we advocate for sanctioning, we also advocate that those who are doing well be recognized as such.
One of the awardees shared his perspective on exploits of the Private Enterprise Federation over the years.
We want the, good performing department, and then the practical approach to fighting corruption, the Department of Factories Inspectorates. And they really mean a lot to us because over the years, the factory inspectors has been tagged as corrupt, but we've been able to, put our acts together to reduce or to eliminate corruption that we have been tagged with. So we go to the workplace, and then we now made them aware. We have a checklist that we've given to the occupiers for them to know what we are coming to do. So they've already prepared themselves already. Unlike previously, they don't know what we are coming for. And then an inspector goes there, looks around, and he puts a tag on you and say, no, this one you can't do, you have done this and that. But now they have a checklist.
Fred Duho's report for Joy Business.
Meanwhile, CEO of the Private Enterprise Federation, Nana Saibunsu, says public sector inefficiencies can be traced to the lack of adequate resources and, in some instances, denial of mandatory budget allocations. This, he says, affects the private sector and the ease of doing business in general.
I think in Ghana we all glorify the lamentations that public services are inefficient, public services are bad news, and they cannot do anything pleasant or anything good for businesses or for individuals when there's a demand on them. What we realize that sometimes, yes, it's true, they cannot deliver their service efficiently, but it's no fault of theirs. They don't have the tools meaning the human capital and the financial resources. Because as I said earlier on, when private sector fees that we pay go straight to the consolidated fund, the agencies don't get the benefit of it. I'll give you one example. When we worked with the office inspectorate at one time, the budget that had been allocated to them from January to December, they had not received a cent up to August. So how do you expect them to perform? Apart from their paychecks, there's nothing they can do. So what we realize is the inefficiency sometimes is also a part of the statute that established them. Doesn't give them enough room to grow because of absence of resources. And the statute sometimes were established some hundreds of years back. They haven't seen any reforms. So working with this institution, we realize that they also need help. And if they can help themselves and we help them, they can help us. So it becomes a symbiotic kind of relationship between the public and private. And whenever we talk about public PPP, people think that PPP is only infrastructure. PPP is part of this dialogue platform that we. So in essence is that If they become efficient, private sector become the beneficiary of this efficiency, and we can now go about doing our business. Because you see, investors invest money to make money. And if any gaps are created to make it impossible to make money, they become uncomfortable, and sometimes they lose their investments. So that's the essence of the collaboration between the partners.
This is live on the marketplace. Let's turn attention to one of our top stories today. Managers of some ports of entry are expected to switch off the Ghana Community Network Limited (GCNet) and West Blue systems at the Aflao and Elubu borders. This likely disruptions, and this will cause some disruptions and delays at the ports of entry, and it could lead to demurrage and rent increases by shipping lines, which will be holding containers. Senior Minister Yao Safo last week directed the freight forwarders, clearing agents, and other stakeholders to use a new customs management system, Unipass, to clear all goods from the 1st of March. My colleague Norvan Akwa-Hayford has been monitoring the current situation. He joins me right here in studio for some updates. Norvan, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
What can you tell us? Has the new system taken off now?
Okay, so as we speak, we understand at Libo and then at Aflao, they're still using the old system, which is that which belongs to GCNet and West Blue, and that they haven't moved. I mean, importers are still, going on the system and have started their declarations using that old system that is in place.
Is it because they are flouting the orders of the senior minister, or is basically technical problems? Okay,
so my interaction with the president of the Ghana Freight Forwarders Institute clearly tells me that there is no system in place. I mean, as of this morning, we got in touch with him, and just before we came on air, we had actually spoken to him on radio, and he did indicate that there is no system. And so they don't know what they're going to, which new system the senior minister is referring to.
When you say there is no system, what do you mean? Because I know that some kind of pre-testing and other instances.
But you recall that when Edward Akron was here in your studio, he did indicate that their pilot that was supposed to take place in Takrady and in Aflao, that did not actually take place. In fact, at Elubo, he told you that the last time the Unipass team was there was in October. But, I mean, just a while ago, I also got in touch with the Unipass team and tried to find out that, okay, we want to find out from you what is happening as far as your system is concerned. And they are telling us that what is happening is they have done all the training that they need to do. They are still engaging with the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, knowing very well that they have procedures that they need to follow. And for that matter, they hope that in the coming days or weeks, they would deploy their system. But as of today, as we speak, the GCNet system is working. What is interesting is that we had the Daily Graphic, page 16, reporting that the Unipass has taken off, and did even indicate that on the 21st, Takrady Port was hooked to the system. Yes. We can report as Joy Business, we have done all these checks. It is not true that the Takrady Port has been hooked. The Abestek terminal, which is at Takrady, is still using the GCNet and the West Blue system.
Have you had any reactions from the authorities managing the system?
Well, I had a call. I placed a call to the GCNet people and the West Blue, and they told them that they are also monitoring their system. It is not off. It is working as it should. And so for them, really, they don't really have any issues. But as I told you, the Unipass team, the Ghana Link people, they are the ones who said that they are actually still, in talks with the GRA, that's the Customs Division, because they know that there are certain procedures that they need to follow, and so they are hoping that in the coming days they will be able to deploy the system that they have.
So what's the way forward now?
I think that GCNet has indicated that for them, if you switched off their system, they would take the measures that they need to take. As of today, what we know is that currently the Takrady and the Tema Port wasn't part of the list that came out. That is the list that was sanctioned by the senior minister Yao Osafo-Mafo. The Koduka International Airport was also not mentioned in there, but those 49 or so entry points that were given included the Elubo and Aflao borders, where you have the GCNet and West Blue haven't deployed their system in full. The rest, as we are told, are just headloads. And so really they don't really need systems over there.
All right, thank you very much for the updates, and I believe you would brief us as and when you have details.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Northern Akwa Hayford is my colleague. And meanwhile, Commissioner of Customs, Colonel Koyudamwa, insists the UNIPAS has a potential advantage over the current port management systems by GCNet and West Blue. He further disagrees with the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. They were not engaged at the various borders.
Fortunately, I have now managed to set my eyes on the original contract of GCNet and the subsequent agreements that were made. The last time that we met at Coconut Grove, I had not seen the contract myself, but this time around I've managed to read. The initial contract was from 2002 to 2012, and then there was an agreement for 1 year, 2012 to 2013. And then in the 2013 agreement, it was stipulated that now, instead of the original 10-year and the additional 1 year, it should be in series of 5 years. But there should always be a mid-year review of the contract to determine whether GCNet was giving real value for money and then their performances were satisfactory. Now, so that aspect certainly is going to be activated to determine whether or not to disengage completely with them. And then they also had some obligations under the contract to really do capacity building for customs officers and also be prepared to do transfer of ownership to customs entirely. So these are, and there are also provisions for termination and then notice given whenever one party wants to engage or modify the contract, and that is 3 months notice. So with that, the contractual aspect, I'm clear in my mind that, as I indicated the other time, that there should certainly be provisions in the contract that will deal with all eventualities. Now, coming to the real operational aspect, we've started rolling out the program. The stakeholders have been engaged. As I indicated in my speech, everybody of the public is potentially a stakeholder, because you either are going to be an importer, declarant, or person with interest in whatever is imported into the country. So we thought that the best way out was to have every potential stakeholder well educated and informed on the program. So if you looked at today's graphic, there are adverts indicating when those in the suspense regimes are to be trained for them to.
It's live on the marketplace. We're taking a short break here. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. As part of moves to penetrate Africa's markets, government of Malta is beginning bilateral relations with Ghana through some key sectors of the economy. At its second Ghana-Malta Business Forum in Accra, both governments have signed 5 MOUs to undertake initiatives that will see the two countries take advantage of each other's markets. Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, tells Joy Business that strategic partnerships will boost Ghana's trade volumes with the European Union, since Malta has the best economy in the EU.
Definitely, we complement each other in many ways. We have a common cultural heritage. We're both colonized. Ghana had its independence in 1957. Malta had its independence in 1964. But you can see that when they had their independence, like they commonly say, they didn't have any infrastructure, no business, no manufacturing, no nothing, just like Ghana. And we've gradually built, and Malta has built its economy to be at the forefront of the European Union. It is a small market, less than 500,000 people as compared to Ghana's 30 million people. And over the past 2 years, we've sort of elevated the pitch. I have personally gone to Malta 4 times, and it culminated in the state visit by the president last year, where we agreed that we will work together for our mutual benefit. Malta would sort of present itself as our opportunity in the EU, whilst Ghana presents itself to Malta as its opportunity in Africa. And therefore, we are very clear where these relations will go. And some of the MOUs that you saw signed here today are very significant. For example, the Ghana Standards Authority have signed with the Maltese Authority to provide phytosanitary, HACCP and all the sort of certifications that we require to export into the European Union. They will also be here to train. There's also an MOU in aquaculture to enable us build the aquaculture expertise. And then there was another one with Impact Hub to see how we can actually bring technology up front in a lot of our processes. And therefore, these can only be positive and act on it. The good thing about the Maltese economy is that they move. I mean, once they say they'll do it, they get ahead and do it.
Now, as the 2020 general elections approach, government is being urged to sustain the positive macroeconomic gains over the period to enhance the business environment. According to Deputy Managing Director of Societe Generale Bank Ghana, Ernest Kwechi, this has become necessary to prevent the country from sliding into a state of fiscal excesses after the election year. He spoke with Joy Business at the presentation of prizes to winners of the grand draw of his outfit's deposit and win promotion.
Unlike a typical election year, from what we have seen so far, the measures taken by the authorities has actually been quite positive in stabilizing, the Ghana city, and also, helping the overall, I would say, environment for the business in Ghana. You can see that recently the Eurobond has been oversubscribed. So this is clearly showing the continued appetite that investors are having in the country, which is actually a good sign, in this election year that the measures taken are still going in the right direction.
So with these positive signs, you are hopeful that by the end of this year, it will be exciting time for banks?
It's a bit premature to project for the end of the year, but at least what I can say is that for the first 2 months of the year, is good. I think the government has already taken good measures on this, and this is precisely the reason why, we believe that it has helped to stabilize the cities. Because in 2019, I think the depreciation was quite significant. It was quite high, the depreciation of CD against other currencies. And actually, in the first 2 months, we have seen even some appreciation on the CD. But at least we'll say that overall a good stabilization. And, most of the key questions always is that in election year, there are always a little bit of uncertainty. But from what we have seen the first two months, it doesn't seem to be really the case. So if the government continue in the same direction, along with the Bank of Ghana, from what we have seen, I have no doubt that things will continue.
And that will be it for this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abwaji. For more business news, log on to myjoynews.com/business. Have a good day.